Hi, I'm Mira. Welcome to another story. Let's see where this one takes us. The hum of the dream chamber filled the small, sterile room as Elan Veros adjusted the electrodes on the sleeper's temples. The faint glow of the chamber's dome illuminated their face, lined with exhaustion that no amount of sleep could fix. This wasn't their first anomaly, but something about the recent patterns of shared nightmares had left a heaviness in their chest. Elan's fingers hovered over the console as the dream stream activated. On the monitor, images flickered: a serene meadow, a towering industrial complex, and then a jagged silhouette. The figure stood motionless in the distance, its form shifting unnaturally. Elan frowned, their unease growing as the dream sequence began to destabilize. The serene meadow darkened. The industrial complex crumbled into jagged rubble, and the figure turned, its head tilting as if to acknowledge Elan directly. The console emitted a sharp beep, and the dream chamber's dome pulsed red. "System anomaly detected," the AI droned. Elan's heart raced as the sleeper's vitals spiked. Protocol demanded they purge the stream immediately, but their hand lingered over the command. The image on the monitor changed again, replaced by a landscape that had haunted their own dreams, a cracked desert beneath a roiling blood-red sky. The figure loomed larger now, its jagged edges writhing like shadowy tendrils. "Elan, report!" came a sharp voice through the comms. Supervisor Amara. Elan swallowed hard. "It's another anomaly, similar to the ones reported last week." "Purge it," Amara ordered without hesitation. "We can't risk contamination." Elan hesitated. "It's not just a glitch. These anomalies are consistent, they're connected." "Purge it, Veros," Amara snapped. "That's an order." Elan exhaled shakily, their hand hovering over the purge button. But the figure on the monitor seemed to move closer, its jagged form pulsing with a dark energy that sent chills down their spine. The cracked desert felt real, as though they'd been there before. Ignoring the command, Elan copied the stream data to their tablet. The second they pressed the button, the chamber's dome went dark, the anomaly forcibly purged. The sleeper fell still, their vitals stabilizing, but the uneasy weight in Elan's chest remained. Hours later, Elan sat in their dim apartment, staring at the dream log on their tablet. The copied images flickered across the screen: the cracked desert, the jagged figure, and flashes of what looked like an industrial ruin. They rubbed their temples, the vivid memories of their own recurring dreams overlapping with the stream data. A sharp knock at the door broke their focus. Elan froze. Visitors were rare, and after ignoring protocol earlier, they half expected a reprimand from the corporation. They approached the door cautiously and opened it to find a figure cloaked in shadows, their sharp features illuminated faintly by the hallway light. "You're Elan Veros," the stranger said. It wasn't a question. Elan tensed. "Who's asking?" The figure stepped forward, revealing a cascade of dark curls and sharp, defiant eyes. "Name's Nix Arlen. I hear you've been seeing things in the dream streams." Elan's brows furrowed. "And how would you know that?" Nix smirked faintly. "Because I've seen them too. Those nightmares, they're not just dreams, they're pieces of something the system buried. If you want to know what's really going on, you're going to need someone who can navigate the dreamscapes." Elan's instincts screamed to shut the door, but the weight of the anomaly and the memories it unearthed kept them rooted. "And you're that someone?" Nix nodded, her expression serious. "I'm a lucid dreamer. I've seen the cracks in your perfect system. What's coming can't be ignored, and if we don't act, those nightmares will stop being just dreams." Elan hesitated, their mind racing. The image of the cracked desert and the figure lingered, a reminder that this was bigger than them. Against their better judgment, they stepped aside. "Come in," they said, their voice low. Nix entered without hesitation, her eyes scanning the room. "We don't have much time. If we're going to figure this out, you'll need to trust me." "I don't trust anyone," Elan muttered, shutting the door. Nix smirked. "Good. That'll make this fun." As the door clicked shut, Elan couldn't shake the feeling that they'd just stepped into something far more dangerous than a rogue anomaly. Elan sat strapped into Nix's makeshift dream rig, every instinct screaming at them to get up and leave. The contraption was a far cry from the sleek, sterile dream chambers they used at the harvester station. Wires tangled across the floor, and the humming power core in the corner flickered sporadically, casting dim light across the cramped room. "You're sure this thing is stable?" Elan asked, eyeing the blinking monitors with thinly veiled suspicion. Nyx smirked as she adjusted the electrodes on Elan's temples. "Stable enough, just don't think about it too hard." "That's not reassuring." "Good, keeps you sharp." Nyx straightened and tapped a console, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "Relax, Harvester. This isn't your corporate playground. It's the real deal. If you want answers, this is the only way." Elan gritted their teeth. They'd already come this far, and the memory of the jagged figure and the cracked desert still burned in their mind. Against their better judgment, they nodded. "Fine. Let's get this over with." Nyx flipped a final switch, and the rig hummed to life. The world blurred around Elan, colours and sounds distorting as a rush of sensation overwhelmed them. Falling. They were falling endlessly until the sensation abruptly stopped. When Elan opened their eyes, they were standing in the cracked desert again. The roiling red sky churned above them, and the dry, fractured earth pulsed faintly beneath their feet like a living thing. The oppressive silence pressed against their ears. "Welcome back," Nyx's voice said behind them. Elan turned to see her materialize, her form shimmering slightly before solidifying. She wore a small, knowing smile, her confidence unshaken by the hostile dreamscape. "Not so bad, is it?" Elan gestured to the desolation around them. "This is your idea of not bad?" Nyx ignored the comment, crouching to examine the cracked ground. "It's more stable than I expected. Whatever memory this is, it's deep, rooted in the system. That's why it keeps surfacing." Elan crouched beside her, the unease in their chest growing. "And the figure? The one from the nightmares?" Nyx stood and pointed to the horizon. "There." Elan followed her gaze and felt their breath catch. The jagged silhouette was closer than they remembered, its shifting form radiating a palpable malice. Around it, shadowy structures began to rise from the earth, twisted spires and half-formed buildings that pulsed with dark energy. The dreamscape was assembling itself, piecing together fragments of memory into a corrupted version of reality. "What is this place?" Elan whispered. "It's not just a memory," Nyx said, her voice low. "It's the foundation of your system, the beginning of it all." Elan's stomach twisted. "The beginning? That's impossible. The system was developed to harvest individual dreams, personal subconscious thoughts, not collective nightmares." Nyx shot them a sharp look. "Then why does this feel so familiar to you?" Elan faltered, the cracked desert blending with flashes of their own memories. They saw shadowy figures hooked to machines, their eyes empty as streams of light poured from their temples. They heard the hum of extraction rigs and the murmured voices of engineers talking about optimization, about quotas, about pushing limits. "It wasn't just personal dreams," Elan said, the realization hitting like a blow. "They tried to harvest shared consciousness, the collective subconscious of entire groups. It must have fractured the memories, created this." Nyx nodded grimly. "And instead of fixing it, they buried it, suppressed it. But memories don't die, Elan. They fester." The jagged figure began to move, its form rippling as if in response to their conversation. The structures around it solidified, casting long, dark shadows across the desert. A low rumble echoed through the air, and the ground beneath them shook. "It knows we're here," Nyx said, drawing a blade that shimmered faintly with light. "We need to destabilize it before it solidifies completely." "And how do we do that?" Elan asked, their voice tinged with panic. Nyx's gaze locked on theirs, her expression fierce. "By facing it. You said this memory comes from the system's origins. That means you're part of it, whether you want to be or not. If we're going to tear this thing down, you need to confront what the system did and what you've been complicit in." Elan's chest tightened. "I didn't know. I didn't." "Doesn't matter," Nyx interrupted, her tone sharp. "This thing feeds on denial. You want to stop it? Then stop running from the truth." The figure roared, its form stretching upward as tendrils of shadow lashed out. Nyx moved first, her blade cutting through the darkness with precision. "Stay close," she shouted. Elan's hands shook, but they followed, their heart pounding. The desert wasn't just a dreamscape, it was a reckoning, one they could no longer avoid. The jagged figure loomed above them, its shadow stretching like a living void across the cracked desert. The dreamscape trembled, pulsing with an energy that felt both ancient and overwhelming. Elan could barely keep their balance as the ground beneath them shifted, each tremor feeling like a heartbeat synced to the figure's every move. Nyx moved with calculated precision, her blade slicing through shadowy tendrils that lashed out from the figure. "It's stabilizing!" she shouted over the roar of the shifting dreamscape. "If we don't break it now, it'll anchor itself permanently." Elan stumbled, their chest tight with fear. The figure's presence wasn't just oppressive, it was personal. Each step it took seemed to peel back layers of their own memory, revealing fragments they'd tried to bury. Images of early harvesting experiments flickered in their mind. Dreamers strapped to machines, their subconscious energy extracted in violent torrents. "You knew this would happen," a voice echoed, low and guttural. Elan's head snapped up to see the figure standing unnaturally still, its jagged form now resembling a fractured mirror. Its voice reverberated in their skull. "You stood by and watched as we were erased." "I didn't know!" Elan shouted back, their voice trembling. "I wasn't part of that." The figure's head tilted and its voice took on a mocking edge. "You knew enough. You saw the fractures, the strain, and yet you called it progress." Elan's breath hitched as the memories surged forward. They'd seen reports of anomalies early in their career, dismissed them as glitches, and followed protocol. They'd trusted the system, convinced it was for the greater good. But now, faced with the figure and the shattered desert around them, that justification felt hollow. "Elan!" Nyx's voice snapped them out of their spiral. She was holding her ground against the shadows, her blade glowing faintly with every strike. "You can't ignore it. This thing feeds on denial, on fear. You have to face it." Elan's heart pounded as they staggered forward, their gaze locked on the figure. The fractured, mirror-like surface of its body began to ripple, and as Elan drew closer, they saw faces within the shards, dozens of dreamers, their expressions frozen in fear and pain. Each face was a reminder of the lives lost to the system, the collective consciousness fractured in the name of progress. "I didn't want this," Elan murmured, their voice breaking. "I thought we were helping people." The figure's shadows surged, its voice growing louder. "You thought of yourself, your work, your ambition. You called it innovation, but you were blind to the cost." Tears blurred Elan's vision as they fell to their knees. The weight of the truth pressed down on them like the desert's oppressive heat. They'd been complicit, even if unknowingly, and now the remnants of those erased lives were here, demanding to be seen. "Elan," Nyx said, her voice softer now. She was beside them, her hand gripping their shoulder. "This thing isn't just here to punish you. It's here to remind you, to force you to confront what was buried. If you want to stop it, you have to accept that. Own it." Elan looked up at the figure, their fear slowly giving way to something else. Resolve. They stood, their hands clenched at their sides. "You're right," they said, their voice steadier. "I was complicit. I ignored the signs, trusted the system, and called it progress because it was easier than questioning it." The figure paused, its jagged form flickering. The shadows around it wreathed, then began to retreat slightly. "I can't undo what happened," Elan continued, their voice growing stronger. "But I can stop running from it. I can face the truth and make sure it doesn't happen again." The figure let out a deafening roar, its form destabilizing. The structures around it began to crumble, and the shadows dissolved into wisps of smoke. Nyx stepped forward, her blade shimmering with light, and plunged it into the figure's core. A shockwave rippled outward, shattering the figure into fragments that evaporated into the air. The desert stilled. The roiling red sky softened, giving way to a pale, serene blue. The cracks in the earth closed and the oppressive weight in the air lifted. Elan fell to their knees, their chest heaving. Nyx stood beside them, her expression unreadable as she sheathed her blade. "You did it," she said quietly. "No," Elan replied, their voice hoarse. "We did it." Back in the waking world, Elan sat in their apartment, staring at the dream log on their tablet. The remnants of the fractured memory were still there, a reminder of the system's dark origins. They knew what they had to do. Nyx leaned against the doorframe, watching them. "So what's next?" Elan met her gaze, their resolve clear. "I'm going to expose the truth. People deserve to know what the system was built on. Nix smirked faintly. You're going to make a lot of enemies. I'm used to it, Elan said, standing. But this time, I won't stand by and let the system bury its mistakes. Nix nodded, her respect evident. Good. Let's make some noise. As they stepped out into the city, the weight of the past still lingered, but for the first time, Elan felt free. The nightmares were no longer just dreams, they were a call to action. And together, they were ready to answer. Thanks for listening. If the story stuck with you, come back next time for another journey.